Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. As we get people to jump up, as we wait for more people to join us, by show of hands, by typing on the chat, you can just mention where you're from and if you can hear us. Let's see where we have people from Kenya, Nigeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, SA. On chat, you can type on chat. Great. Okay. Okay, and on screen is our today's session, our panelist, and what we're going to be looking at, the topics for the day. Okay, and also the ground rules. Ensure your mic is on mute, and also you can continuously type your question on chat as we progress, and then the panelist can answer maybe as we go or move on, or the last 15 minutes will be the Q&A. So thank you and welcome everyone. My name is Martin Wanjohi of High Performance Africa, and I'd like to introduce Natalie and Taiwo to introduce themselves briefly as we wait to start.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I'll launch myself first. Thank you so much, Martin, for this opportunity. Shall I give just a quick introduction about my background? Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'm normally put under the bracket of HR. Actually, HR is a much bigger umbrella. I am only a small part of HR, which is essentially recruitment and headhunting. So over the last 15, I think it's about 16 years, I've stopped counting about 3 years ago. I've literally over the last 16 years plus have really focused on headhunting and interviewing. So I am right now based in Kenya. After living in the UK for 25 plus years, I moved to Kenya to launch a company called Just Work. And what we do at Just Work is two things. One is to support individuals on their career path, and then also to help companies build the right talent. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Great introduction, Natalia, and nice meeting you again. Yes. My name is Taiwo Abatan. I'm here from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a human resource professional with about 18 years experience, cutting all across the value chain, the HR value chain. I work for an insurance company here in Nigeria, and maybe I'll talk about myself better during my session. It's nice being here, and thank you, Martin, for this opportunity.
Okay, welcome very much. So I think we will, today's session is going to be a very interesting one. And just to open up, to open this session, let me open with a small thing that I had. When COVID-19 came and people had to work from home, there was this joke going around that HR is having the hardest time because they have people they cannot see and they cannot control. They don't know what they're doing, but they know they're working, but they need to see them working. So, and that is the status of where we are today. These sessions are covering change, culture, and learning. And today we dive deep into HR. And so Natalie and Taiwo will be the ones taking us through. As I keep on mentioning, I am in learning and development. I wish I was in HR.
Actually, you are in HR.
You are in HR.
Development is in HR. It's just one arm.
Yeah.
One arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, I'd like to stop sharing my screen, and if you're ready, you can roll. So we are running for exactly 1 hour. We will do 20 minutes per presenter, and then the Q&A for about 15 minutes, and then we can hopefully close the session at 12 o'clock. Perfect. So Natalie,
yeah, you are giving me
over to you. Yes.
Let me share over here. Fantastic. Excellent. So let me just move these a little bit smaller. So my full name actually is Natalia Zahra Polishchouk Mohammed, and I didn't actually choose any of them, but I embrace all of them. My mother is Ukrainian, my father is Somali. So I was really blessed in having a very kaleidoscopic upbringing. I'm fluent in 5 languages, not out of choice, because I went to all of those different schools. And as I was saying earlier, really when it comes to my career, I am really always focused on the future of trends, where work is going. I'm always looking for the latest skills, etc. So what I'm hoping to do today is just share some of my kind of trends, some of my knowledge. I do a lot on the future of work, but today I really want to focus on some of the key areas in HR that will go through some of the shifts. So as I was saying, I run a company.
Natalie, just
yes.
sorry, one. Maybe you could maximize your screen.
Yes, let me do that.
Please.
Can you see it better now?
Yes, perfect.
Fantastic. So Just Work has a missing you because we are looking for you. And as I was mentioning earlier, we have a team of 8, and definitely in the coronavirus, we've all have gone through this massive shift of doing everything offline to doing everything online. And in that realization, I understood that online equals global. Once you go online, literally, you can make your product, anything accessible globally. So when it comes to HR, I find that having hired HR really for a good 15 years, I have hired from generalists to specialists, from training and development to payroll regional specialists. So I've built quite a good knowledge. And what I want to do just over the next 20 minutes is just take you through each one of these pillars and very briefly give you an idea of where are the trends moving, so that we as HR specialists in our own individual areas can begin to pick up and see trends. I would love the audience, as I'm talking through each point or each pillar, if you've got a question or you've got some, please just type it in, because it will make a richer conversation. So let me kickstart. So very quickly, the future, the trends of the future, Internet of Things. I think some of the older generation, the baby boomers, have not really fully understood Zoom and Hangout and WebEx. I tell you, in 1 month, we are all fluent in any of these collaborative platforms. So Internet of Things will really, really continue to grow. AI, especially in HR and in general businesses, is really revolutionizing how work is done, the skills that we hire, how our organizations are structured. All of these are major shifts. Innovation in the workplace design, not just working from home, but also in Kenya, we have things like Nairobi Garage. In the UK, we have WeWork, where we have these collaborative, we just go and have meetings, move around. But the workplace, we see Google kind of leading this already in kind of saying, I want to have this type of employees, I want them young. Therefore, if they want to sleep for 2 hours or they want to game for 2 hours, the whole workplace will go through massive innovation rather than just being that open floor. Also, employee well-being, this is going to be quite big. What you find is in the world of consumerism right now, if I were to want to purchase, say, a headset, I would go on Amazon and I would look at how many comments have people left, how many likes has that product had, how many people have commented on that product. The same will happen also for employers. So we see this is as well with employees as branding. We see this with Glassdoor, where employees really need to employers need to make sure that their employees become brand advocates. And the well-being is that we are much more comfortable talking about mental depression, really not having that longer term impact. So employers' approach will be quite different and looking at employee well-being. And move to the next one. I want us to start shifting into the new industries. There are a lot of still traditional industries, but the workforce has shifted in new industries, from fintech to agri-tech to e-commerce. You know what, e-commerce, when we are selling online, the B2C, the middleman has been kind of removed a lot more. So when we purchase B2C products, the way we do it has shifted substantially. And as a business, then what kind of population are you likely likely to have more customer service, less of this. So let us look at really emerging trends, because they're the ones that are grow, and what is the work population going to be against it. Gig economy, I'm only going to give this 30 seconds because I want people to begin to understand that whilst gig economy sounds like it's a little bit out there, we can see it immediately in our lives, from Uber being the largest taxi company that doesn't own a single taxi company, yet all you need to do is register, choose when you work. We have so many, I've always said pre-corona that the fastest global trend growing at over 1,000% is home working. All corona has done is put the foot hard on the gas, and we are now going at 200 miles. And the beauty of home working, which is some of what the biggest organizations like Cisco have already implemented, big multinationals have that kind of work life. Not only are they making real estate major cost saving, but they're increasing productivity. And as HR managers, we need to stop thinking that I can only find the talent that I need in my immediate location. So work is going to be more broken up, etc. Let me move on so I can cover all of my slides. So let's move on to compensation and benefit as one of the pillars. I personally, HR for me is one of the toughest jobs in the world. I couldn't do it personally because you are permanently stuck between a rock and a hard place. Everybody's top down, is, you know, down up is coming at you, and you're kind of that mediator, and you get a lot of stuff dumped on you, and sometimes you are not listened to when you are really kind of putting some of those points out. So first I gotta say, hands out really to anybody in HR. And I think HR has moved so much from 20 years ago when we were personnel versus to we are now change management, transition managers, and all of these different type of things. So I think HR will be seen by the decision makers as the critical role that it truly, truly, truly is. So when it comes to compensation and benefit, we have about 5 different generations, and each one of these generations is motivated so differently, retained so differently. So organizations that are still working in that traditional setting and they have that one shoe fits all, you are not going to be attracting so many different ways. So we need to stop thinking just in that traditional, you're going to come and work. We don't even offer permanent pensionable contracts to most of our staff. It's all contract, you know, fixed term contract, with all sorts of different type of contracts where not all of us have that permanent. So when it comes to benefits, we are really going to have to start thinking a little bit outside of the norm. Not just one shoe fits all, but the idea that the golden handcuffs or the golden, you know, the golden handcuffs is wait so long, and then if you do that, we are going to pay you. So this is a good retention strategy. You can't do that with the youngsters because they want to live a little, work a little, live a little, work a little. They have, you know, millennials prefer to have experiences rather than expensive goods. Baby boomers, they really love a pat on the back and a medal and some recognition. So we're going to have to start thinking outside of the box, and we are going to have to stop thinking that benefits have to be the typical traditional type of benefits, especially if you are going into the gig economy. You know, how are you going to reward virtual employees, and what local laws are going to then be enforced for you, what taxation, all of these different things I will cover. Payroll. I don't think most people understand the complexity of payroll. It wasn't until I started hiring substantially for large organizations I've really understood that it really depends on the size of your company. And now that we are more regional, we are where you are versus globalization is really big. So I find that the trend in payroll, the bigger the company, the more likely is to be actually outsourced. Why? Because you have country-specific laws, you know, so you have some countries that say payment has to go out on this day, start date has to happen on this day, commission has to be paid, or there's a lot of rigid local country structures when it comes to payroll. Therefore, organizations that also have varied contracts or sales or different structures, you know, or you've made this amount versus that, you are finding that big monopolies are kind of developing big organizations that are covering very, very large multinationals. But payroll as a line of business, it's very interesting. It feels that sometimes it sits under comp and ben, sometimes it sits under finance, sometimes it sits under HR. It's kind of very varied in each company to company. But yeah, I think in terms of the bigger you grow, we need to outsourcing it becomes actually a much easier thing to do. Training and development, my God, training and development, it is without a doubt, not just within a corporate, training perspective, it's whole world education. You know, the homeschooling, you can access a lot more information. You know, even if I am a mechanic, I can sit on YouTube for a few hours and learn how to develop. Information has become more and more accessible. And now, especially in Corona, we have more time, we have more attention, we concentrate longer periods. Without a doubt, we are all kind of, and the beauty of e-learning, it means that you can access a specialist from South America to talk about specific agriculture growth to a particular population in Botswana. Therefore, kind of us embracing this whole e-learning is really going to grow. They say that e-learning is going to be worth $5 billion a day moving towards the future. So learning virtual reality, learning the traditional corporation where you would have to have in class, which is very expensive. Bigger companies always need to have one big supplier. It becomes, you know, it's all one shoe fits all again, training, right? Let's train everybody on this. Let's train. Training will become a lot more tailor-made and actually a lot more cheaper, a lot more accessible and much more individual driven. For me, the key point that I want to say in training and development is this. A lot of companies come to me and they all want the latest skill, the most sought after skill. But for some reason, nobody is taking the responsibility of building the skills in the market. So as we are moving towards all this new technology, you will find that employers will choose younger, more mentally agile, curious, quicker learning to actually do more training. So, and you will find that companies are cross-industry. So some medical with technology, you know, lots of different cross-matching. So the traditional work training that you would say, you know, we will do this for that, we will do this for this team, because the structure of the organization has changed, the learning and how we are doing it, but a lot more emphasis on employers taking more responsibility in closing that skills gap, in bringing, and employers can also set themselves up as training organizations. You know, we need to use our staff not in an angular. If you have a strong finance person that has an ability of creative writing, this is where businesses will start using 360 of individuals. So training will be a lot more tailor-made. E-learning is going to move much forward. And the oxymoron of the future is that we are all told that we are going to be better to be specialist. But at the same time, we are expected to be a T profile, a generalist above, and then drill down to absolutely anything. So interesting developments. Let me move to the next one. Perfect. I'm still on time.
Yes.
So yes.
Sorry, you can go on.
Fantastic. So HR systems, what we will definitely find is a great deal more of self-service. The administrative aspect of, you know, even contracts, system will create them. You will go online, you will do e-signatures, it will create your own folders, you will submit your own holiday formats, you know, you will submit your own expenses. So a lot of the HR function, the administrative part is starting to be removed more and more, so that HR begins not the administrative, but really the strategic aspect. And then we've got a lot of AI in HR, from employee analytics, monitoring tools. I know a lot of employers are not aware that there are monitoring tools. Once the employee downloads it, you can see absolutely everything they do, and whether they are sharing stuff, you know, confidential material, what they're sending, etc. There's some also ethics into this, and some local country legislations that need to be. But if we wanted to, we could control. But I don't think in the future it's about control. It's about delivery. It's about, have you done this? Here it is. It's much more like that. And then we will have a lot more cloud-based, especially in wellness apps, communication apps. There's going to be a lot more on cloud-based technology that is coming. And of course, recruitment, smarter recruitment, more virtual reality. So systems and IT is only going to grow, make our role a lot easier, and give us some visibility. Employee relations, this is a very interesting one. You see, if I'm based here in Nairobi and I now do a 3-month, 3-day-a-week contract for somebody in Johannesburg, and then I do another 2-day-a-week for 3 months for somebody in London, and then somebody else in Texas, what kind of contract am I going to have? You know, do I have an employee contract? Is it still like a freelancer, a home worker, or do I have a B2B contract? And then what if the employer in Johannesburg does not pay me and I've delivered the work? What law mechanism is it going to be the Kenyan employment laws, or is it going to be the South African employment laws? So because of this gig economy and piece work and your location not being as relevant, I really want us to see more e-laws, you know, more something that protects us, you know, like photographs, you know, data protection and data privacy. Until then your photograph was at home sitting on your mantelpiece. Today it's online, etc. So HR people need to start really thinking ahead. What are the new employment contracts that are coming up? How is location and geography coming into it? How much will local employment cover you versus to what's happening? So in employment relation, especially in the law, lots and lots. There's e-citizenship. There is some countries, I think it's Slovakia, that offers you e-citizenship, so you can run a business, pay taxes. So it doesn't matter where your location is. So they're already bringing in some mechanisms. Recruitment, my favorite. So really, we will stop hiring just the IQ. We will hire the EQ, the emotional intelligence, the ability to learn, the ability to be a people's person. It's much, much more important than your degree and your qualifications. So this is a major shift that will only continue. Also, recruitment will be much more about recruitment marketing, more about employer branding, more about your employees becoming advocates. So you can't just post a job on a job board and I expect the best of the candidates to come to you. You know, there'll be a lot more on, we are like this is what we do for it's about employer branding. And so a lot of recruitment marketing will come into this. Technology and recruitment is always going to continue. I am not a big fan when this is HR, not recruiters. So I'll tell you guys honestly, when HR are doing recruitment, you create such long processes. And tell me this, I want to know your payroll, how much, I want to know, you know, absolutely everything. And then you get them to do tests upon tests upon tests. And some businesses will even ask a potential candidate to spend 4 to 5 hours of their time doing this test, that test, and they still get no reply. So we are losing a lot of people. And only when you are not getting the right individuals are you thinking, maybe I need to review. The thing is that your future candidate, their journey through the recruitment process is so critical. Employees are your clients, therefore, you know, how they on board, the journey from recruitment and removing this, you know, why am I, this interrogatory or kind of, you know, in some line of business, maybe you need that. But I think the more you make it more about them and give them that experience. So I'm not against using tools. I love HireVue. HireVue, you know, I don't know, for those who don't know, it's a fabulous tool. You know, you set your questions, you set the amount of time the candidate does it, and you can see more in a 2 to 3 minute video than spending 20 minutes reading a full CV and still not understanding a profile. So we need to be cautious on the technology that we use. And this is where you will also see, you know, the gig economy, the millennials are now the old generation. Generation Z have an 8-second attention span. Even when you are getting job boards for them, it needs to be a gamification. Somebody who will read the question for them, they have an 8-second span. So these are just some of the areas in recruitment. Performance management, this is really, really big. So technology, analytics, automation, monitoring tools. Performance will no longer just be how many hours have you spent on your desk. Performance will be so much more about deliverables and specific pieces of work. Remote working is only going to continue. You can access fantastic skills, and sometimes you don't need somebody permanent full-time. You can get somebody who can get the work done for you really quickly. And this is one of the things I do as a headhunter. When a client comes and this is what I want, I really take the time to look at the business and say, actually, you know what? you don't really need this. You need a little bit of support here and you've got enough of a team. So using tools and technology to help us manage performance, these are only going to continue. Also remote working, measuring performance, there's lots and lots of these. I think making your targets very clear. There's a lot of development in the performance management area because you can't manage the same performance structure with baby boomers, versus millennials. Millennials might produce twice as much work in half of the time than baby boomers. So our measuring stick really, really needs to be, and this is one of the biggest changes that is definitely within HR, in that as new businesses, as e-commerce comes in, as fintech comes in, as we have new companies, new industries, unprecedented type of things that are happening, HR are the people that are setting some of the trends and putting some of the processes. And the key thing again is employee wellness. Really, really big on this. I think I'm done. I've talked fast. Over.
Okay, so then what I'm going to do, what I want to do right now is let us gauge what people think. Let's take this poll. Where do you expect to see great change moving forward? And this is within HR. So let's take the vote that is the poll that is on your screen. Okay.
Where do you expect to see the greatest changing?
Moving forward. In HR, within this list of items provided.
Yeah, talent acquisition. Performance management. All of them, really. To some extent or other, they're all moving.
Okay, so let's get at least 50% of the participants to vote, and then we can see how it's going. And this is just a general. What we realized is the numbers add up to more than 100. So we decided it's just an indicator, not very definite, but more of an indicator.
Yeah.
Okay, so we close in 7 seconds, just to see. We've got 100 people vote. That's great. Thank you very much, everyone. If you're just joining us, you can just mention the country you're from on chat so that we know who we have, where we're having people from. Great. Okay, going to end the poll and share these results. Okay, there are your results.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Performance management.
Yeah.
People think the people we have here believe people management, performance management will be having the highest change moving forward. And we covered change performance management in our last sessions. And yes, so Natalie, you can unshare your screen and then we can invite Taiwo.
Perfect. Perfect. 1 second only. Stop sharing. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. Taiwo, floor is yours.
Okay. Natalia, nice presentation, and you've really given a good background. And it's just for me to build on that premise. Well done, well done.
Thank you.
Well, I saw the result of the poll. I expected that because a lot of things will be changing around performance management. I think the idea we have is managers have to start thinking and having a paradigm shift around how we manage our people now, being able to set realistic and smart KPIs. More importantly now that the bulk of employees will begin to work remotely. So how are we still able to manage them, manage their performance objectively and still get the right results? Well done, well done. Greetings, everyone. My name is Dayo-Abatan, and I will be talking on the topic, how should HR react in times of crisis? And so we know that when a crisis period, yes, COVID-19 came upon us unexpectedly. Yes, for us in Africa, it came, will I say suddenly, but it's been on as far back as November in other countries, in China, a bit in America, Spain, and a bit of Europe had been having their fair share of COVID-19 as far back as late 2019. But yes, here we are. And so it's a crisis period for most people, and more importantly for organizations. And who is leading people it's HR. So how do we as HR cope during crisis time? I have a small presentation that I'll be sharing. I'll be quickly going to share my slides. If you could join me. Okay, so I want to share. If you see my slide, Natalia, just
can I stop sharing?
Yes, you can stop sharing.
Yeah, I've done that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can see my slide, just wave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, can you see my slide?
Can see your WhatsApp.
I'm trying to get that out. Okay, now I'm going back there. So who can see my slide?
Who am I? Got you.
Okay.
You can maximize slideshow view, yes.
Yes, I'm doing that now. So Natalia, can you see my slide?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So
yes.
I will just run quickly. So how can HR stay relevant in times of crisis? And so I'll start with who am I? So I'm a certified senior HR professional with the HR Certification Institute. I'm a mentor, and I'm about to complete my coaching certification course. I have over 18 years HR experience cutting across the entire HR value chain. I work for a fantastic brand called Mutual Benefits Assurance PLC, one of the top insurance companies in Nigeria with footprints across the West African coast. I call myself, most importantly, a business manager, managing the HR function in my organization, and I work with a workforce of about 4,000. You might say it's quite huge, but we leverage a lot on technology and then business partners across the various locations. I understand the importance of my role as HR. As such, I ensure that I deliver value at minimum costs to the delight of my stakeholders. So when you sit in the seat of HR, you're not only managing people, you're managing stakeholders. There's government, there's regulation, there are the investors, your employees, your vendors. So each time I'm on my seat, I'm thinking, how do I ensure that all these people in that circle are happy with me, with my organization, and as much as possible, I'm delivering value at minimum cost. So I will run briefly to my presentation. So the session flow, this is how it's going to run. We'll have an introduction, which I've just done. So what should HR do? And that's the topic we're talking around. More importantly, I'll be talking about HR and leadership, HR and technology, HR and communication, HR and strategy, HR and people, and then we'll wrap up. I have just 5 slides for my presentation, so I'll be doing a lot of talking. Now, bringing it home, Natalia has set a very fantastic background for us in terms of what we should do post-COVID and the things that would change in our environment. Now, I'll be talking more from the experiential point of view, talking around what are the changes that are already happening in this crisis period and what is the next step going forward. So I'll be talking on HR and leadership. So we've had this argument around leadership challenge, leadership being tested a lot at this period, who is taking up the leadership mantle, who is doing what. And you know, in time past, when we talk around leadership and the test of leadership, the test of leadership happens after events have unfolded. But now the test of leadership is going pari passu, going side by side as leadership is taking those decisions. So it's quite challenging for leaders at this point in time, and now narrowing it down to organization who is taking up the mantle of leadership. HR has been thrust to the forefront to having to be the one to take up leadership at this time for most organizations. Now, lots of organizations are feeling the impact of outside distraction and under immense pressure to meet their professional and business goals. So here in Nigeria, Businesses have been closed for the last 30 days. Income is not coming in. Businesses have had to take decisions around classifying employees into critical, essential, non-essential, and then having to say, some of you stay at home, some of you work remotely. Who is at this point in time taking this decision? Is HR. So HR is at the forefront of leadership, having to drive activity in times like this for most organizations. Now, companies are looking for strong leaders to help them navigate through these turbulent waters. I was telling a colleague of mine who was going under immense pressure, slightly going towards depression. And I told her, I said, this is the test of your leadership as a human resource professional. Yes, we can quote all the jargons in HR books, but can I say something? Those things have actually failed us at this point in time. We say HR is a science, fantastic. It's plug and play. You get your strategy done at the beginning of the year, and then you can run it through the process, cascade down the deliverables, get them into KPIs, have those discussions, and then at the end of the year, mid-year, half year, and end of the year, you do the appraisals, and then you can actually project a result. But at times like this, with the challenges organizations are facing, these processes are beginning to fail. And so companies are looking for strong leaders to help them navigate through these turbulent waters. If there was ever a time as a professional, particularly human resources, to do some internal reflection and find ways to improve your abilities as a leader, guys, it is now. It is now. This is the best time for you to showcase yourself as a leader, particularly in the organization that you work for. So you ask yourself, what do I require? What is required of me to showcase as a leader? As a leader, what you need now is to develop more on your soft side, your emotional intelligence, your coping mechanisms, your relationship management skills, your negotiation skills. These are the things you are bringing to the table that will help you to position yourself as a leader. If I don't know whether Matt is going to take a poll around leadership and HR, you will find out that this is not the time for you as HR to play ostrich. You can't afford to play ostrich at this time. Your organization is expecting you to do a lot around here. So for me, as an example, I've been having to churn out communications continually. I've had to be sitting in an advisory position to advise management on what to do per time in the last 4 weeks. So I've turned out to be like a sounding board. So Taiwo, what do you think about this? Taiwo, what should we do as an organization here? And with these things happening, it has put me in a position whereby I also need to adequately equip myself, understand that the people that we are managing are working remotely. We cannot see them. And so we can only envisage what they are going through there. A lot are going through depression. A lot are going through issues. They don't have money to feed. They don't have food at home. Are we calling them? This is not the time for you to be harassing your people, telling them if you don't perform, or this is not the time for you to be micromanaging them. This is time for you as a leader to sharpen your relationship management skills. More importantly, you should also know that the decisions or the advice you give your management at this point in time may make or mar the career of other people, and also understand the kind of lives that are also tied to each individual in your organization. It's quite challenging, colleagues, but I know it is doable and you can succeed. I'll move to the next one, which is HR and technology. So how does HR cope in crisis period and leveraging on technology? So we know what has happened in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks for some countries. Here in Nigeria, we are still looking at four weeks, we're in week 5. And so what has happened? We have had to leverage a lot on technology. I have been involved in having to do the business continuity plan for my organization. So we had to do phase 1, phase 2, and we are already in phase 3, which is 100% remote work. But despite that, how are we still able to coach and manage our people to performance? So now processes are changing. We've paid salaries. We didn't have to go to work. We've processed requests. We didn't have to go to work. So HR needs to begin to think on how do I leverage on technology to ensure that the business is still sustained, the HR side of the business is still sustained, and we are still able to deliver results. Now, we're already envisaging going back to work. Yes, our government is saying go back to work from Monday. What are we going to be doing differently? Because whether we like it or not, people psychologically will still be practicing the social distance philosophy. So we're saying that, and you know, HR is where everybody wants to come to with their needs and their requests. So we are telling ourselves already, what are the things we need to begin to do? How do we position our HR processes, the activities on the value chain? And I'm glad that Natalia spoke a lot around that. How do we leverage on artificial intelligence to ensure that we are still delivering value around recruitment, around onboarding? I've had to board an employee this period without having to see him. We still welcomed him, we introduced him into the organization, and he has already started work since last week. We had to do his onboarding remotely. And this is what our management, our organization are waiting for us to project. So HR has a lot to do around technology, leveraging on technology in times of crisis. Now, like never before, is a time for HR to embrace technology wholeheartedly. So before we were doing it, maybe not, because the landscape of work has been disrupted and it can never return the same. So what must change? HR processes must be automated and become data-driven. We need to transform our HR operations, we just talked about, compensation and benefits, recruitment, learning and development. What we're doing now is L&D, and a lot of things are still happening. People transformation, also working on our people for them to be able to embrace technology. Note that HR is only facilitating processes. So you need to start engaging your managers to ensure that they are embracing technology, and also that they are also cascading that down to their various teams. Now, this assignment is two-pronged, it's two-sided. Now, HR holds one. Now, the people side also, managing your people to embrace technology. HR, like I said at the beginning, is at the forefront of this. So ask yourself as a human resource professional, am I current or am I a dinosaur as regards the use of technology? Now is the time for you to begin to do your research and be able to begin to recommend to your organization technology that can still ensure that HR processes are working fine. Now I'll talk about HR and communication. So we ask ourselves, what is communication? Communication is two-way, we know that. But at the same time, because people are beginning to work remotely, HR needs to be very careful when you are communicating to your people, not only to your people, to your entire stakeholders. So how do you communicate? When do you communicate? What do you communicate? So remember the how, the when, and the what. So if you know what I've done at my own end is that communication must be properly thought out. Your words, your language, your tenses must be properly thought out so that you are not unnecessarily raising an alarm with your respondents. Because currently we're in crisis period and they cannot see you. So they cannot even, they don't know what you are, they can't read you to know what you are trying to pass across to them. Communication should be short and precise. This is not the time for you to start flavoring communication. Say it the way it is, as concise as possible. More importantly, ensure that you're communicating the right thing at the right time. So timing is important. At what time do you want to do your communication? Also, does your communication have to be written? Look at your audience. Who are you communicating to? If you send out an email, how many of your people are able to get the email? So what we have leveraged on is to open up WhatsApp groups, Slack, and other kinds of technology where people can also go to Peradventure, they cannot get their emails. Can I ask us a question? How many of us as human resource professionals have taken time out to call our colleagues, to call our employees, to call our staff, to find out how they are faring at this period? Communication is extremely important. Now, I'm going to be real here. You'll be shocked about the kind of workforce that will return back to our organization. Yes, the office aesthetics will not change. The building will still be there, the cars, your table, your chair. But the kind of people that will return are changed people. Whether you like it or not, you and I have been affected psychologically by COVID-19. So the kinds of employees that will resume are going to be different. You'll be seeing a lot of conflicts, a lot of issues will be coming up, a lot of aggression will be coming up, a lot of depressed people. How do you as HR ensure that you're communicating aptly to these people? Communication is important in times of crisis. I'm going to HR and people. One of the skills we need as human resource professionals is people management skills. And if you cannot manage self, then you cannot manage people. So first and foremost, you need to also actually have to master yourself. So I'm going to give myself as an example. The first one, and I'm being real here, the week 1 of COVID-19, that's March 30th to April 5, I went through some slight depression. And I will explain how. Being away from work and having to work remotely from home took a toll on me. And for 1 week, I shut down because I needed to get myself together psychologically before I begin to be at the forefront of people management. And managing people takes a lot from us as human resource professionals. If you cannot, you must first of all learn to manage yourself and then manage people. Now, for those of us that run a large workforce, you can only manage your people through the managers. So what kind of rapport are you building with your managers? Are you sitting there driving them, or are you getting in between them and getting your hands dirty, trying to feel the pulse? Now is the time for you to run your surveys. Feel the pulse and the tempo of your people. Run your surveys, reach out to them, encourage them, and more like ever before, coaching skills are coming to the fore. It will get to a time whereby as a human resource professional, you would need to have coaching skills to be able to manage people. The kind of people that will come back to our organization are people that will really, really need to coach, mark my word, coach to performance. A lot of them are already despondent at this point in time, and so we need to coach them to performance. I'll wrap up by saying that now, like ever before, it's time for us as HR to project ourselves as process and people managers in times of crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taiwo. We have a small poll. We'd like to see what people are thinking. So you see a poll on your screen. How are we providing leadership to organizations as HR? One, we are doing great. I'm a valuable resource to my CEO currently, not yet there, working on it. My opinion as HR is highly sought. The organization is progressing well. HR is a spectator. Nothing has changed. HR is still the flower girl in my organization. Let's see how things are on the ground. Okay. So we'll open this for 1 minute, and let's have as many people as possible vote. Then we will be moving to the Q&A. There's some few questions I saw about communication, and we'll be coming to that just as we close this poll. So we close in about 10 seconds. Okay, let me end the poll and then share the results. Okay, let's hit 100. Just waiting for 6 more. Okay, great with that. So let's see how these things look like. Okay, so Taiwo, you can help us interpret how things are looking like.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not too happy. I'm seeing 52% saying my opinion as HR is highly sought. And then I was expecting a higher poll around we're doing great. I'm a very valuable resource to my CEO currently, and I'm having 28% there. But I can understand it depends on the organizational life cycle. So depends on how the organization have positioned HR. Some organizations have their HR at middle management, whereby it's only to follow instruction, while some have HR at the strategic level, whereby HR sits at the table and so HR is positioned to know what is going on within the organization per time. I think I sit there. But also, based on the audience we have here, the bulk is saying that their opinion as HR is highly sought out. So I'm suspecting that they sit in middle management. And so, well, it's still fine. But even if their opinion is sought, the challenge is, are those opinions implemented? Are they implemented? Which is what will eventually affect the people at the end of the day. I want to encourage them that they can only do more, try and build on their credibility, and try and get the buy-in of their leadership. With time, it will get better. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe let me end this, stop sharing this. Now, there was a question I saw about, can HR over communicate in these times of crisis?
Should I answer that?
It's open, yes.
At this point, there's nothing like over communication. And I'll tell you why. You need to constantly engage your people. You need to constantly be in their faces. And I would say it from the angle of, there's so much of false information going on around there. So people are being bombarded left and right and center from government, from the media, and they're not hearing anything from you, their employer. They need to hear from you. You are a major stakeholder in their lives. So there's not like over communication at this point in time. You are the one to guide them because they are your people, they are your resource, and they are key to your organization. I envisage also that while companies are looking from the side of, and I feel it's a bit of arrogance, that they will be laying people off, I envisage that people will come to work and drop their letters themselves because there'll be talent switching. So if you want to keep your people at this point in time, you need to communicate with them. So there's nothing like over communication at this time. More importantly, when we are working remotely.
Okay. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm having an unstable internet connection.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I think that was the only question I saw. Maybe there were questions directly to you on chat.
I think fantastic presentation, but communication.
Hello?
I can hear you. I think we
Natalie. Okay. So I would just want to look, any question that came directly to you, Natalie, Taiwo?
None.
Okay, then I'll just give a few minutes, 1 minute for any burning question. Oh yes, there was a question of illiteracy and technology. The person was saying that most of their people are working the fields and so illiterate. How does that work around now? Illiteracy and technology.
Okay, so first and foremost, understand yourself and understand your organization and understand your audience. If your people are working on the fields, then you cannot leverage on technology. But let's do something. It's possible for you to still use technology. You could record your communication, you could record your messages and send it to them. because we're still working remotely, there's still a way you can still leverage on technology to ensure that you are still hitting the right pulse of your people. I think it's more of you to think, look inwards. Never say never. There will still be a way. Maybe a little bit of technology can still be leveraged on. Though your weak people work on the field, it's still possible.
I would like to add, I think already technology exists in the field. Right now, we all can communicate via WhatsApp. Already that is a form of communication that is there. But the difference is what technology tools are there to manage performance. But when it comes to agriculture is you have to dig from hole A to hole B to hole C. So it's not necessarily, you need technology. You need to understand what you are measuring and how you are using technology. But absolutely, even Google can track your location. So there is lots of ways that as long as they have a mobile device, there's lots and lots of apps, not just to communicate, to track, to monitor, but not just monitor them for the sake of monitoring. Have an idea of what you are capturing, and in a way that also makes the individual happy, so you're not going to say, I'm going to secretly monitor you. No, be transparent so that there is that open communication.
I saw a question here. Somebody says, what kind of messages should HR be sending out on a continuous basis? You need to send out messages of reassurance, messages of business viability, messages of safety. Once you get a communication from government, frame yours and send it to your people. So business viability, messages of comfort, messages of protection, all kinds of messages. But more importantly, business viability. People are scared at this point in time. Are we still making money in the business? Can the business still sustain us? And rumors fly faster. And the fastest way to kill it is official communication all the time. We have had to do 2 in the last 1 week, and it's going to be continuous.
Hello. Okay. I think we lost Tai. Now,
just to encourage our employees that things are still going on fine. We have our reserves, and for us.
Okay. I think we're having a slow connection. Mm-hmm. Okay. So 5-6 more minutes before we close this. Maybe as we wait for Tai to come back, we can have a look forward poll. Yeah. This is the last poll of this session. So I just want to find what, in your opinion, is likely to happen post COVID-19. What do you think will likely to happen? We will all go back and pick up right where we left. A lot is likely to change on how we work and think about work and see. Let's wait and see how it plays out. Okay, we'll open this for exactly one. Taiwo, I see is back. Let me. Taiwo, we're just taking this poll, then you can continue with answering that question.
Maybe you need to unmute her.
Yes,
she's unmute. Tai? Okay, Taiwo, we're saying we're just taking this poll that is ongoing, and then we can see, you can go to finishing answering that question. Okay, so just to share this, so we all have the opinion that a lot is likely to change on how we work and think about work. So this is very interesting, and a few of us just want to see how it plays out. So Taiwo, maybe to give you the opportunity to finish responding to that question. Yes.
So that was the question of what, right?
Yes.
Or did another question come up?
Sorry, no, you're just responding to the question that you were going on before you went off. the question you were responding about.
Okay, so yes, I said the question is what and what can one communicate as HR at this point in time? And I said, you need to communicate. I was talking about rumors. I said, you need to communicate the viability of the business. You need to communicate comfort to your people. You need to communicate protection. You need to communicate, when government comes out with any kind of communication, you need to transform it into yours and pass it across to your people. Constantly be in their faces, but more importantly, communicate the viability and sustainability of the business. Employees are scared. They're not sure what is going to happen to them post-COVID. And can I even say we're already in post-COVID because China has recovered. And so China's economy and their factories are working 100%. But it's just for other countries also now to get back in. So communicate comfort, communicate all that, because a lot of rumors are flying all over. And the best way to nip it in the bud is to constantly officially communicate the truth at all times to our people. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think we have about 3 minutes. I think we've responded to as many questions as had been asked. Maybe last words.
I saw a question here.
Yes. Okay.
The HR manager who do not make difference for business continuity within this period, their companies do not and will not understand why HR department. What could be the improvement plan to bring back the role of HR within those companies? Oh, wow, that's a tough one. First and foremost, the company has not recognized HR. So HR for me with this organization will sit in advisory. All you can do is to advise. Just keep advising. And your advices must come from the point of regulation. If we don't do this, this is what government will do for us. This is the impact on our business. This will be the impact on the brand. So that's the best way to come in when you're doing advisory HR. It will hit them. They are business owners. They want to sustain the business. They want to keep the business.
Yes.
So you also don't advise from the point of emotions and sentiment. Come from the point of regulation. And so gradually you now begin to build your trust and your credibility with them. So for me, I think that person can do for those kind of organizations. They have still not understood the worth of HR. Thank you, Matt.
Okay. Closing remarks, Natalie, and then we go to Taiwo, and then we can close.
Yeah, no, this was very, very good and so wonderful, Taiwo, your presentation. I have to say, you know, are you a modern HR or a dinosaur HR? I fell off the chair. That really got me. I think you really touched the most important points. You cannot over communicate. And this is one of the key things I said. You said the who, the what, or, you know, so create these communication structures is the only way. And the second point that you made is job security. Because we want to see how well a company is doing. But I think regardless of Corona or not, the job market is moving fast. And my advice to anyone right now is to take the time to go beyond the CV and build a digital footprint, ideally on LinkedIn. So I would say that take the right steps. Don't, you know, whether, you know, the job goes or does not go, just know that your skill set are still of value. It's an IP that you are selling, and you can just, so there is no need to panic. You'll be surprised how much you can shift out there.
Excellent. Let me just chip in my words. And I have two words for everyone here. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just 2 words. Just breathe. We'll be fine. We'll all be fine.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you very much, Natalie, and thank you very much, Taiwo, and thank you to the nearly 180 HR professionals who've joined us from Southern Africa, Western Africa, and East Africa. Next week, we continue with learning. High performance, what we want to achieve is always learning. So next week we have 2 sessions on the 5th and on the 6th. And we look, on the 6th, we look at learning. On the 5th, we have someone from Nigeria, Ifedi, if I am correcting the name rightly. And we have Dr. Jerry Jules from IPM South Africa. We are always communicating with everyone here on mail. Check your mail. If you don't find us in your inbox, check us in your junk mail and move us to your inbox, and then you'll receive everything. We will be sharing links to this session with everyone on mail. Yes. So thank you everyone for today's session, and have a very happy Labor Day coming up on Friday.
Yes.
Okay, for Kenya.
I had some people are
for
asking
everyone.
that for everyone. The people asking their governments to keep it and then they can be claimed later on. I hope, let's see how that pans
Another
out.
3 days.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for this session, and I'd like to end this session here now. Thank you everyone. Have a great.
Thank you, Martin.
weekend.
Thank you for having us, and I really appreciate you. Thank you. Bye, Natalia. We'll connect.
Thank you very much.
I'll connect with you.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.